Okay, I think good evening to everyone. Primarily, I think only some of us are in the afternoon mode still, but yeah, let's call good evening to everyone. So we are here today to discuss about the Dooars school. It is primarily, I mean, we are calling it school, but it is becoming a kind of a small research center, school, university. We have to come up, we have to decide a name at some point, and that's also one of the agendas today. So the idea is that we will try to spend stick to the time as much as possible. And most of us got like 5-10 minutes here and there. And I am supposed to start with Mukulika. Unfortunately, she cannot join. So we had a long discussions this morning that what should be our presentation looking like. So that's how we have created the presentation. And on the way, I will maybe me and Sagar, either of us, will start introducing each other. To start with, most of you possibly know me. My name is Siddharth, and I try to run this tiny little organization called Open Academic Research Council, along with the help of Sagar, Moumita, and Professor Mohan, Avnish, and now Hemanth, and Avnish is also, Amit is also coming on board to help us a little bit. So, and their background will come into picture slowly. So let's, without further ado, I think let's go to um, my screen. If I can find my slide. So let me see if I can do this way. So the idea is that all these names written below the slides, we should not be worrying too much. Primarily, we are thinking about who should be assigned what. And so we started calling these as Doers Living Lab. The motivation is very simple. We wanted to start a school, and for a school, it's very simple. There are always anything, even for a food, we need two major components always. If it is aloo paratha, then we need aloo and the flour. If we want to make, I don't know, paneer, palak paneer, then we want to have spinach and paneer. Similarly, in this case, since we want to make a school, we need a student and academics, teachers. So on that line, we have those definitely not in short, I think. But I think there are much more important aspects like we need salt, we need paper, we need many other ingredients to make it happen. And those are some very critical elements I think we all understand. So that's why the whole idea started by me and Mukulika. Mukulika is a PhD scholar at the IEIEST, which was earlier it used to be called Shibpur Bengal Engineering College in Shibpur, but nowadays I think it has a different name, Indian Institute of Science and Technology. Sir, correct me if I'm wrong um, uh, with the uh, with the full name. So she's also into material science and nano engineering. She creates nanomaterials. Having quite spending a lot of time into that domain, she's fed up with the education, and most of us we who go through a PhD and all this kind of academic career, we all have ups and downs, and we have a great amount of learning, and I think that's a very important aspect, that when we spend a lot of time learning about it, and then and spend, I mean, going back home, and then we always think about what we could have done to our student, to our fellow members. So we spend a lot of time thinking about it, and that's how it all started. That when the council started, Open Academic Research Council, we wanted to test that what kind of education is really needed in India, and what is exactly we can offer. I mean, considering the main big problem, economics, socioeconomics, poverty, availability of so much of talents, but there is possibly a strategic decision to be made that how we can work together. And I think that's where Sagar plays a very important role in our organization. He's a strategist. He runs an organization called Healthy Mind. He helps students to think about not only the academics but prioritize the other aspects of academics, focus on certain aspects so that they can perform well. So I think that's very much missing, along with a school where that part is very much missing. The other part is that we don't have uh, the scientists or academics, the elite class academics, if we want to call that, people who does advanced research. They don't interact with the schools, so the schools are actually getting quite isolated. So that's why we thought that we will decide that what's the name, but more or less we are talking about a living lab, where it's a living lab, continuously changed parameters are being changed here and there, and and we are getting those details into our account, and then we are starting to understand how education can be offered. And that's where Mukulika and me started discussing, and this is what is the first slide introduction a little bit. So the mission is very, very simple, on a um, three three aspects. Primarily, we want to harness humanity. I think that's the very simple thing to say, but it is very, very difficult task, I guess, and it's one of the biggest problems all over the world. So it's not only India's problem. So I think that's a big problem, big area. And I think as academics, as um, when we are playing with education, when we do research, I think ultimately we want to extend the human knowledge. And as me as a scientist, or Professor Monra, all of us, we try to extend our knowledge a little bit, as much as we can. But impact is something very little we can do as scientists. And that's why possibly, if we can somehow help with our scientific understanding, with our academic understanding, little bit of to this school, so that the children who are going to work with us, they can have this bit of harnessing humanity concept. That would be a very important aspect. And then the next part is customized education. I think this is the key aspect, and that's being the sandwich between the two other pillars, that the education which is not very, very conventional, and we are just offering what the students are looking for. It's not that what we want to offer. I mean, I, I may be doing statistical mechanics, or I don't know, diffusion of molecules, but the students may not be interested in that, right? So I work with. I started as a biologist, and then I moved into physics. I did a lot of things. I mean, Professor Mohan knows me a little bit, that aspects, and we all researchers go through that kind of journey, and and 90% of the time we fail. I mean, I think more than that, sir, right? So 98% of the time we fail, and possibly 2% time we succeed, and then we get some good results, and then we. But those 98% are important. Without those failure, we cannot go there. So I think in our case, it's nothing is given, so everything we have to make from scratch. So that's why customized education is very important. Last but not the least is leaving nobody behind. um, it has been seen very frequently that, irrespective of countries, irrespective of universities, um, inclusiveness is always missing around the campus. And that's where we would like to play an important role. uh, Take an example of Pondicherry. Let's take an example of University of Cambridge, or Harvard University. All of these cases, we always see that the localites do not get involved so much into the school, into the academic environment. So that's where we have some interesting plans that, when primarily Mukulika's idea that to include everyone, and it must be also one of our, I mean, the funder has this idea that the school, where is it happening, it should not be an isolated place, it should include everyone. around it, because he wants to do it for the society or the local society. So that's a very important aspect, leaving nobody behind. Okay, so I'll just try to wrap up very quickly here. Then, I mean, obviously, I'm using same color code, but to give you the structure, is that obviously the umbrella is Open Academic Research Council. It is a Section 8 company, and it has a primary mandate to do research for public problems. And while doing that, we face this problem that while working with public, and public can be defined in many different manner. It can be with age, it can be with education, it can be with the financial capacities. So I mean, they're struck. I mean, you can classify them in a different way. In our case, we don't. We are only talking about irrespective of age group, people who wants to solve problems, but there is nobody to help them. Um, I mean, the public institutions, like for example, the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, or IIT Madras, or all these IITs. All of us have our, I mean, when we are in that institute, we have our own problem, research problem, and the institute has their own strategic priorities, and they may not have time to solve look into um, these public problems, but it does. For example, the oxygen concentrator. Let's take an example. I mean, it's happening now, but small things which is a problem, but it may not be able to solve those. So that's where we try to bring the institutions like Indian Institute of Science Bangalore, all the IITs, IICR, different universities all over the world. From those universities, from those excellent, extraordinary academic institutions, the scientists, academics, they get these paths through us, that they can interact with the public, and they can also get some interesting problem for ourselves. So because most of the time we as scientists do not interact with the public, and then we do not really know what they're looking for. So that's another important aspects. And almost like most of the institution does open days, I don't know you know about it, but that's also very little amount of interactions we have that day, because it's very specific, very focused. We want to show some experiments, and there's some interactions mostly with the students, but it's not always the case that the academic research is really open to the public. So that's why Open Academic Research is formed as a council to help them. The structure, as I mentioned, is that in its three missions are divided in three structures here. First is harnessing humanity, and that's where we build the next generation, and that's the school. We started calling this a living lab, and the research center. It's going to harness um, the sorry, if I just go back, customized education, because it has to understand what kind of education we can offer. Obviously these names are all prospective names, so it's going to be changed afterwards. So the research center we started calling Tagore Center for Excellence in Education, because he started, Rabindranath Tagore, he started understanding what is education. He created a university, and he spent a lot of time. And we started reading his literature, that what he has done and where he failed. Of course, we know how he succeeded, but I think we had to understand where he failed. So those are the things we are taking into account here. So a center which will understand, perform different kinds of research, but to serve education. So that's that part. And then the last bit is sustainability. We discussed that we are in a wild animal corridor. It's in the northern part of West Bengal. It's called North Bengal, by the way. So where there's several national forests around. Occasionally, we had pictures, we had films when our surveyor went to survey for 3 times. All the times, elephant came in. Um, did a massive destruction. Uh, I mean, from the humanitarian ground, from the human space, they did a lot of massive damage. Maybe not for them, but yeah. So those kind of problems are there. So sustainability is a very important aspect in terms of food, local growth of food, and local inclusiveness, as we discussed earlier, that how we can have everybody with us, leaving nobody behind. So that's the other part. So the food development and local inclusiveness, as well as global inclusiveness to some extent. Yeah, so I think I will just end here, and these are some options Mokulika and I have thought of. So obviously we both love the name Open Academic Research Council. We all love the name because that's the main organization. So that's possibly one option. We don't change anything, that's one option. And then the other options are Living Lab or Dooars Living Lab. And then the literal translation of Vishwabharati, which is Tagore's university, is World Communion. And then we added the other thing, World Communion of Education. And there are other few options we have here. And the last two, we were thinking that can it be even an university? So that's another thing we are thinking now, that because we are doing school, and even in Vishwabharati, even in Tagore's university, there is a school where I studied, for example. So yeah, so that, I mean, a school can be inside a university, and so we had a similar kind of structure, but much smaller. So that's why we just kept that option. Yeah, so with that, I will just end here. I think I'll just give it to Sagar. And I think we have a big amount of time for discussions. We will come to that. Sagar, over to you.
Thanks, Siddharth. Yeah, so very difficult for a scientist to complete in 5 minutes any update or 10 minutes. So that
I'm
goes
sorry.
as usual. Okay, so why don't you put up the slide I have already sent you, because I am on a handset, so I will be, I have mailed you actually. You are on mute if you are trying to speak anything, sorry.
I was just saying that that's why we need a strategist. Uh, that we scientists always speak too much. So I will just try to open it in Google Slides for you and then see if we can do it. Yeah, okay, fine. Share screen. Yes, share. Can you see my screen now?
Just put it on the full blown.
Yes, present. Yeah, okay, fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll try to save sometimes, try to take 3 minutes to complete rather than five, so we kind of catch up on some time. This is, I have some six or seven statements, and they are like, uh, uh, dreams and some kind of visions as of now. Yeah, so you can click first one for that. Yeah, okay. So basically, in this institute, I'm just calling it institute for time being, because it may not be a school, it may not be a research center, it actually may not be a university, it might become an institute actually. Tuition fees and fees from researchers are going to be a source of income. That is the first one. Yeah, go to the next, click again. Donations and funding for economically backward students are going to be welcome. So that is another source of kind of a money inflow. I am not calling it as an income, because this will predominantly go towards kind of funding some of the things which we plan to do as a part of our giving it back to the society. Yeah, next one. The objective is that when we start the school, and uh, just as a kind of a tentative kind of timeline between us, we are talking about starting in the academic year 23. So 23-24 is the academic year we are going to be operational. So we are planning to start with 100 to 200 students approximately. Yeah, next. And this will have like kind of a maximum size of roughly 1,000 students. I mean, obviously these numbers are subject to change as we actually go and physically do the planning part, and we put it everything on ground. Number can go up or down depending on what kind of facilities we are able to run. Yeah, next. Okay, now one of the objectives what we have, that ratio of the students to teacher should be 20:1. So one teacher for, and this is like the minimum ratio. It can increase in the sense that there can be more teachers per student, but it cannot go below this number. That means it cannot be less than one teacher per 20 students. So that's the kind of you can say a baseline we are trying to keep, so that there is enough quality time available for students to interact and kind of learn. Yeah, next. One area we actually, and obviously Siddharth and Dr. Mohan Rao will be the right people to kind of say how many researchers will be there on the campus. Is that's the number to be decided. So that is one part which is it's open ended right now, and that has to be decided. Yeah, go next. Okay, the critical business statements are two now. The first one is operations break even maximum within 2 years from start. What I mean operations break even, that the income and the expenditure, that's a if I talk about, let's say, a monthly income and monthly expenditure will kind of start matching. That's what I call a operations break even. It should happen within first 2 years. So if I say, for example, from first month to 24th month, anytime it can happen. Obviously earlier the better. That's the plan. Second, and the complete break even to be achieved within 4 years from the start. So obviously there is going to be initial cost of land, construction, etc., etc., and that's the objective, that within 4 years we should have a complete break even. So yeah, that's the update from me. Over to you, Siddharth, again.
Great. Thank you, Sagar. I think the next are from Moumita and uh, Professor Mohan Rao, but I think Moumita apologized that she cannot join, that she's stuck with some microscope problem in the lab. So she sent the slides. I'll just put it up for Professor Mohan Rao. Um, yeah, it's here. And maybe we can I can help you, sir, if anything needs to be mm, okay. uh, yeah uh, yeah, I would just introduce Professor Monrao a bit, and then also Momita, the background a little bit. So Professor Monrao has been serving the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, over 35, 36, 7, I mean, I don't know, 40 years, sir, if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong. So, and then he has generated a huge amount of research papers, publications. His fields are in physics, instrumentations, plasma physics, and he has not only generated, he's not only considered as the father of the plasma physics of India, but he has also generated a huge number of students from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. And it has been a real pleasure for me and Moumita to know him for a really long time now, and start our academic career with him. So that's one important aspect. And just to give the background of Moumita, Moumita is a former PhD student of Professor Mohan Rao. She did her PhD from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, um, and she has a background in nano engineering and electron microscopy, uh, and seeing very very small tiny things primarily, and changing material properties, but as a core instrumentation engineer. um, Both of them are associated with the Open Academic Research Council at different capacities. Professor Mohan Rao is heading the innovation and technology of the Open Academic Research Council, and Dr. Moumita Ghosh is the director of technology. And she looks into the fact that when the science is becoming technology, and how this kind of innovation can be done. We thought that it would be nice that if Professor Monrao and Momita are helping us in the research center aspect. So that's why we just created this slide. Without further ado, I will just give it to Sir to say a few words, and then Sir, if you want me to say something, you can. So, Sir, over to you. Yeah, you are on mute, possibly. Sir, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Ah,
So
okay.
uh, I thought Moumita will make a presentation.
Yeah,
Uh, doesn't
but
matter.
unfortunately, something happened.
Yeah, yeah, but you can go ahead with this.
Yeah,
We have already discussed what kind of research environment that we should create to the young students, uh, and then continue to the senior researchers there. And this we had discussions last couple of times. I think the basic structure that you have come out is reasonably good. But then, as I said earlier, also as we go ahead, we'll evolve with the final model. See, nothing can be perfect right in the beginning. So I think you can go ahead with the slide structure. Then we can discuss.
yeah. Thank you, sir. So the idea what we discussed, I will just brief in a bit, um, to uh, to basically do the replacement of Momita. So the idea is that, like we have, uh, as in the structure shown, that this center is, as sir said, that to enable the young children to to be educated in a very extraordinary manner, if I may say that. The school needs to give some amount of information to the research center, and in order to understand that how the school is to perform. So what we thought, that in order to enable that, we divided the whole thing into four parts. And this is also the similar structure of the building to some extent for Amit and Sanjay, and maybe that could be useful. That So maybe I'll just one moment. Yeah. So what I was saying here is that, so science is one division, social science is another division, philosophy is another division, and finance and business are related. So what are these going to do? So the experimental science, we thought that it will be underground in -1 floor. That's why -1F, as you see, in the same building. We want to put all of them under in the same building, and -1F could be experimental science, possibly having three of these pillars to start with. And as sir said, that we will keep increasing as we go ahead. So one is the physics of intelligence. That's primarily because we are going to handle intelligence, the growth of intelligence, and so and so. So that's one part. So a lot of neuroscience, a lot of electrical signals of our brain and things like that, neurons and things like that. And chemistry of health is very important. It's a residential setting. So how the food is going to be cooked, what kind of nutritions are needed, and things like that. So chemistry of health is a very important aspect. I have stolen this terminology, by the way, from University of Cambridge, in the Department of Chemistry. it's actually called the Yusuf Hamid Department of Chemistry. Yusuf Hamid is the director of SIPLA, who has given an enormous amount of funding to the University of Cambridge now, and that's why the name of the department is called Yusuf Hamid Department of Chemistry. And there we have a division called Chemistry of Health, where it does a significant amount of research on how the health and chemical chemistry of food, chemistry of proteins, and things like that affects our health. So that's another aspect. And then the development of biology is obviously normal to have, because we are looking into the growth of children, how education impacts brain development and things like that. The other part of the scientific division is theoretical science. And obviously, once we do experimental science, we need to analyze those, we need to model those, we need to understand what is exactly the experimental parameters are happening. So that's why we divide it into theoretical science. And there we have emergent phenomena, and network analysis and theoretical biophysics. These are the three areas we have divided. Under these, there will be many groups who will be working on this to understand education. um, and in social science, it's very important, as we are dealing with inclusiveness. So this is what we are talking about. If we can have a subdivision of local and global inclusiveness, where we can also have teachers, non-academic non teaching faculties, non-teaching staff, I'm sorry, non-teaching staff, and teaching staff, researchers, academics, not only from India but also from outside India. And we are in a situation in the middle of Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Northeast, and the rest of India. So it's kind of, where we are, right? So it's basically the small passage. So it's a melting point for all of them. And we received a lot of inputs from our funder, that he has interesting amount of contacts in Bangladesh, where Bangladeshi students are interested in coming to India to get educated. So that's one aspect as well. And education and socioeconomics is very important, that how education impacts our socioeconomics, and these are very important aspects from the social science perspective. So we'd be very happy to have some guiding leaders here from, for example, Tata Institute of Social Science, or the National Institute of Advanced Science next to our campus in IIC, or the IIC itself, and some of the TIFR researchers to come with us and help us, not only with India, but again from outside as well. The other part, I am very interested to work with toy makers. I shouldn't say I, we are, so that what kind of social toys, and educational toys can be made, and what kind of education can be done. We are in contact with Eric Mazur, for example. He has done a significant amount of research on peer instruction. So he's the dean of Harvard University Physics Department. He has been spending a lot of time looking into the fact that how students can learn themselves instead of teaching through lecturing. So that's one part. So I mean, these are the aspects we are looking into. Philosophy is a very important favorite subject of Mukulika. So she suggested, and this happened due to our discussions between her and Avnish, that the service companies like Flipkart, Amazon, and these kind of companies, they give a lot of packages, and there is no way of recycling it and things like that. So ethics of education, the value of inculcating the values into the students, that how ethically they can lead a life, what every single thing we do in our life matters, right? So that part of ethics and philosophy, that's very philosophical. And so that's the hypothetical part will be developed by the philosophers, and which will be translated to the school. So that's a very important aspect, the future of education, ethics of humanity. And finally, since we do not understand this much, finance and business, this is the part to be headed by Sagar, that what kind of finance and business research we must do in order to an ethical business, in order to do this research as well as education properly. So I think that's the last I wanted to say. I don't know how much time I have taken, but yeah. So who is next? Is that
Couple of questions here, Siddharth.
Avnish? Let's do the question answers afterwards. Can you keep a note?
Oh,
Otherwise, we
yeah.
will lose time. I think the next is you. So you can go ahead, Avnish. If you want me to share anything, or you can also, I can make you co-host, and then you can share your screen. Yeah. So Avnish is going to talk about the detailed vision and budget plan what Sagar proposed. Just to give you background of Avnish, Avnish is an engineer by training, but Avnish has moved into commercial aspects, management, and business. He got a master's from the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, commonly known as IIM Ahmedabad. He has served a few interesting global organizations to enable products, to enable basically innovation to products. He can talk about a lot on that aspect, so I will not take a lot of time. One of the important aspects to keep in mind that Avnish is really worried about all the things happening in India, how education can be enabled, and since his undergraduate, actually he started spending a lot of time in this kind of areas. So one important aspect is that he was also working with Professor Anil Gupta in IIM Ahmedabad, where they run an organization called Srishti and Honeybee Network, which also works extensively on education and grassroots innovation, if I am correctly saying. Without further ado, I would just give it to Avnish. Sorry, Avnish, maybe at the end of this session, we will have quite a bit of time to discuss a lot. So please keep your notes. I'm sorry, I didn't answer your questions. Yeah, over to you, Avnish. Yeah. Avnish, we can't hear you, so you have to do something.
He's on mute actually.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was speaking continuously. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Can you see it now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. I think this is the major problem of COVID time, beside the health
Oh,
issue, that
okay.
everybody's on mute. Yeah, over to
Sorry.
you, Avnish.
So,
Yeah.
sorry. So, I was just saying that thank you, Siddharth. I think that was wonderful introduction. I could not have done it better to introduce myself. Going ahead, I'll not take much of that time and I'll just keep it crisp. So, what I'm working upon currently is that I'm just trying to structure whatever was being presented and what will be presented in terms of a crisp document, which we can say it as a condensed vision documents. I'm just writing text around what are the bullet points which we have discussed, and I'll take some pointers from today's meeting and further enhance this document. So I have just written mission statement as to leverage research and technology for bettering primary education. So we are using research, we are using technological tools to provide a better primary education. And the vision, the long-term vision is that uh, we not only do what is needs to be done, but we also experiment new methods of education so that it acts like one small change in the entire education curriculum. So core values has already been covered. For the solution overview, I have used the principle of Kaizen. I have tried to categorize the solution into 5 buckets. People, there are two primary components in that: teachers and the researchers. So there's a symbiotic relationship between both of them. We have to see how that shapes out, because that is the core foundation of uh, what is going to. So the teachers are going to leverage the research which is going to happen to augment their teaching methods, and the researchers are going to leverage teachers uh, to pitch in their ideas, act as a soundboard. Process, two major departures from the existing process is that uh, the the teaching is not a teaching process, but it's the teaching is also a learning in itself. It's a sort of fellowship where a teacher comes, they learn that how to better their process. So it's a learning, the train the teachers program, something of that sort. And second part we already talked is that there is no one size fits solution for all. There will be customized solutions. And what Sagar mentioned earlier, 1:20, one teacher for 20 students. That is something which will help us achieve this thing. Measurement, what we're talking about, any process which, like we have a philosophy in Six Sigma, we say anything is not measured is not done. So there should be a measurement system too for the entire process. We create an index, comprehensive index based on academic, social, ethical, physical, and emotional well-being of students. And however the index is moving, we take that cue and we accordingly change our methods or to ensure that the index is right. So that is something of a dashboard which will be running to give us an indicator. So that's one thing. Technology, we have already talked about a lot. So like you guys are better judge of technologies. I just input few points, theory modelings, visual techniques. One more thing which I wanted to point out that correct dissemination of knowledge, because there is so much of knowledge available uh, around the world. So what I have pointed that this center should, there should be a center of information which should work to have a customized information. For example, I have a interest in maths and chess, so I should get all the bulletins, all the research of chess. I know Google does it, but we want to do it much more personalized ways. And last part is the environment of the Kaizen, which means that we should cater, and one of the points which was mentioned earlier in Medi, to make it sustainable. We should make whatever the efforts which we are doing that it should be sustainable, both financially, in terms of legals, dispute, and everything. So that's brief and brief. So that is the vision document which is being shaped up. I'll love to have your points on comments on mail, so that we can make a very consolidated, very crisp, enhanced document. That's all from my side, guys.
Thank you so much, Avnish. I hope, I think others will ask you questions afterwards. Uh, and I think I will just give it to Sagar once again, because the zoning plan was supposed to be done by Rituparna, but unfortunately some accident happened. So fire caught in her old apartment, old house. It's a flat. So, and then she got stuck there. So Sagar, would you like to talk about the zoning
Yeah,
plan a little
so
bit?
I will give a
Do you
little
want me to
brief.
open? Do you want me to share any
No,
screen?
I have no slides on this actually.
Want me to open the
Basically,
Airtable or something?
yeah, I think that Airtable would be a good idea.
Okay, I'll just open it for you. One moment, give me a second. You can start talking. I will just do it.
Yeah, so the thought is that it's basically divided into majorly you can say four sections, and there are like subsections. But one is a complete wing for education, which is students. That is one wing. The second part, I mean, is basically on the uh, accommodation. So teachers, students, non-teaching staff, etc. The third part is the research wing. So that's a completely kind of a different wing. And the fourth part is basically the entire sports facility. And the fifth part is like mainly administration and like, kind of other administrative part. So that is the basic part. Basically, the entire thought is that since it is a large piece of land, everything will not be built up in one go. So we are going to have a phase-wise construction. There's a detailed table which Ritu has made, which talks about which phase, which building. So, I mean, as it is envisaged, there are 11 buildings that are going to come up, along with other facilities of ground and other part. So the entire idea is actually that we ensure that all the things are in place when the first student comes to the school, but there will be things getting built on as we go along, and phase wise, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and there are something which are going to be ongoing actually. So that's pretty much the idea. There are three steps which are rather, there are four kind of cost estimates which we need. One is obviously the entire piece of planning and construction. That is one part. Second part is the setup, infrastructure setup part. The third part is going to be the running cost of running. And then obviously the bigger part is going to be the revenue part. So between me and Awnish, we are working on that, and I think very soon we will have an update. The immediate first step we are kind of going to do is, once we get the survey drawing, we will have a kind of a master plan ready for the entire school and rather the institute, and that's the step we are going to take. We are at least trying to tie up with one of the best in India in terms of the architects actually, and as of now they have kind of said yes to the project. So we'll keep you posted at a appropriate time. Yeah, over to you, Siddharth.
Yeah, I think this will be really bad if I, because this is my apologies that I forgot to introduce Rituparna and Sagar. Sagar, I did a little bit. So Ritu, because Ritu has spent so much time working on this slide and this zoning plan. So just to give you a brief word about Rituparna. So Rituparna is Rituparna Banerjee. I knew her since she was Rituparna Mukherjee. So she's my schoolmate. So that's one small thing. But what is important that she has not only gone through this kind of unconventional Tagorean education, but she has done computer science and then moved into MBA. Spent a lot of time in Bangalore. Um, she was in Christ University, and then after that, I think she was in to the Alliance Institute of Management, if I'm not saying incorrectly, and then spent quite a bit of time in Singapore into again computer science and the information technology industry. But later, thing drastically changed. She decided to build hotels, and then she has been building international hotels all over the world since I think 2000. 7 or so, I think 9 or so, I think 9, 10, something like that, if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong there. That could be that maybe 2011 or so, but maybe sometime that. So 10 years of that area of expertise. And then now she's um, into into hospitality and very much core business of hospitality and cooking and building hospitality business. And last but not the least, Sagar is coming from a corporate background, although having a engineering undergraduate throughout. I think gold medalist at almost all the classes. Very elite academic background. But then he has an MBA after that, and then he has been serving very important organizations in India, like Reliance, Bharti Airtel, PepsiCo, in the directorial positions. So that's about Sagar. But I think if I didn't do that, I think that would be I would be doing injustice. So I think I think that was my apologies that I forgot to do that. Research and societal ethics. Sagar, I think Samit is still not free with his students. What shall we do? Shall we skip that, or shall we
Yeah,
just
I
brief?
think let's skip that. Let's skip that. Let's move.
Yeah, okay, fine. Uh, Samit Chakrabarty is a faculty at the University of Leeds. Unfortunately, he's from St. Xavier's, Mumbai, and then he went to he moved to University of Cambridge to get a PhD, and he's taking care about the research and societal ethics. He does neurophysiology, lots of animal research, human research. So he's a perfect person to do some ethical help for us. So unfortunately, he's still busy with his students. To be ethically correct, so he's teaching, and it's still 5:30 in the UK. So we will hear from him afterwards. Legal aspects. Now I think it's going towards opening the floor a little bit. I think Hemanth and Manoj are supposed to talk a little bit. Sagar, would you like to take over and introduce Hemanth to change the speaker a little bit, because I am speaking for a while. Yeah.
Uh, I think the kind of lineage Hemanth has, it is very difficult for a person like me to introduce him actually. Hemanth comes with, I mean, like, years and years of experience in terms of legal and actually, like, managing this Section 8 companies and also large corporates from a compliance audit viewpoint. Uh, I am extremely bad at introduction, not even 5% of what Siddharth does. So the best thing I will do is actually I will open the floor to Hemanth. He can talk about it. And Hemanth, if you can also throw some light on what are the legal aspects we need to take care in this institute actually. So over to you, Hemanth. Thank you so much. You
Okay,
have been a patient listener till now.
that's okay. Thanks, Sagar. So basically, uh, I think you have the introduction part is I think can be taken care of while we actually do something. I'm sure I should be able to provide the inputs in this, a very challenging, interesting, and I'm sure uh, a program that is going to do a lot of value addition in terms of building new India, like what and particularly after this COVID, post-COVID scenario, it's going to be a new normal where we are going to move towards a hybrid system of interaction as well as communication, where we need not probably meet, but yes, and then wherever it is required, we do meet as well, and then the hybrid system will, I think, is here to stay. And with this program that you have, you know, your team has thought of, I'm sure it's a very, very interesting one. And I'm immediately, I'm as was I was asked in your Google sheet, which I have sent, in fact, yesterday only, that how I was motivated to join the bandwagon. And as far as the now legal parts are concerned, here the as I was told and as I discussed with Sagar earlier over telephone was regarding the to begin with is the funding aspect of the the Indian arm, that is the Section 8 company and the CIC that we have in UK, from where the funding can come. So first of all, immediately what we need to do is to get activated on the front of our legal and statutory, compliances as well as obligations about starting with Section 12A registration, 80G, and then moving on to filing of CSR1 form whenever, because that's especially important. That's a new provision that has come in from this year only, to file the document with the MCA, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. But yes, as we go along, but yes, to begin with, the legal requirements of having these registrations as well as the FCRA registration, which is most important in the Foreign Currency Regulation Act registrations. So therefore, we have, uh, you know, as I can see, you have built up the good team, and I can, guide, because I have, touchwood, having known the way a whole system works and what are the legal compliances. But in fact, it is only a matter of chance that I think I sent that. I yesterday while I was filling the Google sheet, and I was there was an attachment asked for to file my the last academic qualification degree, and which I thought, of course, that's available, but then this Google sheet would not get completed unless until I attach that certificate. And the certificate original is lying in the office, and office is closed, and I thought I'll send it today itself. Otherwise, I could have got it today. But yes, then there comes a certificate which I received only yesterday. If you will see that certificate that I have attached, is dated 27th May, which I got it only in the evening by 7 o'clock from the Institute of Chartered Accountants. And let me share with you, I have just done a course. The result that came in, the certificate talks about that, is a certificate course in the CSR laws in India. And as of now, and then the certificate is lying with me, and I immediately attached it and sent it yesterday itself in that Google sheet. So I must explain to you what the certificate course is of the Institute of Chartered
Sorry to
Accountants
interrupt,
of India.
Hemanth. You're a co-host. If you want to share anything, you can also share. If you want, yeah, I just made you a co-host in case.
Okay. Anyway, I think you, but I've sent that certificate. Do you have a copy of the Google sheet?
It's an involved process. I mean, it's the IT and other thing. I don't have access right
So,
away.
okay, then let me. Then I'll open
You
it.
don't
I'll
need
open
to
it,
share anything. I mean, I thought that you wanted
and
to.
I'll just do that. I'll just do that. Yeah, yeah.
It's not necessary, by the way. But I mean, I just put
No,
in
it's
a.
okay. Now that you have talked about that, so I thought let me just do that. And one moment.
No, you were saying something. So I mean, I just didn't want
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I was talking about this certificate only, which came in only yesterday, and this is a CSR certificate which has arrived only yesterday. I'll just open it now. That uh, yeah, that's it. So this is again, this is a very interesting one. Must show you the, and it came only 27th May is the dated, but this certificate is of batch May 21. And can you see this now on my screen? Hello.
You have to share your screen.
Uh,
You have.
Okay, okay.
I think you have this down bottom down there. You have see the
Yeah.
share screen button.
Okay. So this is a certificate. This is the uh, certificate which has come in only yesterday, and I attached this. Just on the lighter note. And this best part of this certificate is, there are, you can see the batch is May 21, and this is the fourth batch of the country. Where people who have done, and they do only 100. There's a batch of 100 only. So that means there are only 400 chartered accountants in India who have undergone this course, and it is a very extensive course, because it also even covers the SDGs, all those details by 2030 that we are going to, uh, you know, take care of. Which I am sure what we are doing also here is part of that. But it's going to be a very interesting thing. Why I'm sharing that is, what has happened is that trying to keep updated, and since that certificate was available, so I sent it that, because Otherwise, I couldn't file that Google sheet. But interestingly, so it came in handy. Now, coming to the funding part, Sagar and we were talking about, you know, because the funding has its own, as we are looking at even charging tuition fees and all those research funded projects, where the academicians will be funding this program. But yes, we have lots of option available to avail grants. I have already sent four such sources. Sagar, would you? Uh, anyway, probably you wouldn't have had a chance to look at those.
No, I have got it. I have actually forwarded to Siddharth also. So we will discuss and action it
Yeah, it's better.
immediately.
Yes, but there's that one DBS I sent you from the Singapore is that has a deadline of 15th June
Yeah, yeah,
for
sure, sure.
application, and that applies especially for India as there is the program. So I'm sure that is the first thing that we need to look at. Otherwise, it'll get delayed for one more year.
Sure, 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 sure.
And as far as I have seen your projects of coming to the zoning and the the buildings and all that, here I would like to add here that I'm also you may note down these websites that I'm talking of. You can have a look at those and then we can talk more in detail later. One is HJVI, Himjyoti Vocational Institute. You will just write that on Google and it will take you to that vocational institute. It has all the Google 360 degrees photographs as well as himjyotischool.org. They're two separate sites. Himjyoti, H-I-M, jyotischool.org. I could have taken you through those sites right now here on the screen also, but again, it would take long time. So what I'm trying to say is that we have a school, separate school. There are 280 girls studying, and this school is totally free. It's only meant for the backward, girls of the state of Uttarakhand. And there are two girls also we take every year from Sikkim. And this school was set up by the governor of Uttarakhand, Mr. Sudarshan Agarwal, and I'm part of the trust as a treasurer now. And the president is the EY country head of Ernst& Young, Mr. Rajiv Memani. And we also, and plus we have the other HJVI is the Vocational Institute. Now, this is a beautiful state of the art, the kind of vision that you have once you have a look at the pictures. I'm sure it's going to fit in the school scheme of things. So, there are 280 girls in the school, which is totally free. We have a budget of about 3 crores every year. We spend money, and it's totally not a single penny is taken from these girls. And we raise these 3 crores every year, more than that, in fact. And we have various funding, agencies, donors are there because people know that the money is being spent. As so, any of Sagar and while you are here in India, maybe once the COVID situation improves, you'd come and have a look at this. Then only you can realize that what kind of a quality of education as well the level of standard of living that we are providing. Now, coming to the Vocational Institute, my input here would be while we are going to need funds for setting up these schools and all these plans that we have, which may take a year or two to actually put into action, and then the girls and the boys and students will start studying there and all that. I could offer this as an immediate thing for because we have 100 girls only here in this vocational institute, and that's an ideal place for located in the midst of hills where I could work out some arrangement with the trustees and with the kind of we can have a meeting online and both Siddharth, you and Sagar can explain the scheme of things that you are planning in Calcutta. That's all right. That let that go on, but at the same time, if we can, we are there to help. I mean, idea is because here what we are doing is totally free. We have plenty of money as far as the funds are concerned. Only thing is we are looking for a genuine uh, reasons as well as the where the girls are benefited from far flung area. And they are most of the girls who have gone from here because this was set up in 2005 and now we have girls who have passed out and they are going abroad getting all sorts of scholarships globally. And these girls could not even speak a word of English when they came in the class fifth, because the school is from fifth to 12th. And then after 12th is a vocational institute, which is a location across the road. So with these thoughts, I thought I'll just share if you want to, because I know once the plans are ready and you have the problem of accommodation, this could be an arrangement till such time you have your own place ready. But at the same time, whatever can be done towards a mutually beneficial relationship with this organization where I am already involved with, it'll be a great pleasure to do something from that point of view. And coming back to the legal aspects, which is the main core area for which I've been, requested to join. Do we have? I mean, you said Manoj will be there, or what's his name? Manoj, no? That the chartered accountant that was looking after the other
Yeah,
compliances.
he
That
had some clients enforcement something,
okay,
so he could not join.
it's okay. So fine. I mean, so whatever questions are there, I've been, we have been working on the IPR part. I think that meeting also needs to take place, Sagar, which we had discussed earlier. If you are
Yes, yes,
looking,
that we have already discussed that between me and Siddharth. So we'll have that
so
meeting soon. Yes.
I am ready when you are.
Sure,
So,
sure, sure.
and what else? Whatever else you shoot, and I am here to
Sure, sure,
respond.
sure. Thanks, Hemanth. Thank you so much. Siddharth, over to you.
Yeah, Sagar, I think let's all unmute ourselves and then let's all start the discussion, because I think the rest of the time we can. I think Hemant has rightly finished the thing, and I think we can just start discussing the things. And Hemant being a very generous, helpful person to be our legal advisor, it is really an honor, Hemant, to have you with us, with the sort of credibility you bring to our organization. So, yeah, I think we're very much interested in doing a collaborative part. We also try to help Professor Mudera in Kurg. Professor Mudera is based in MIT, but he has a school in Kurg, and it's all connected with IIT Madras because he's also an IIT Madras alumni. So yeah, I mean, as OAR, we try to help as much as possible the other organizations. So yeah, definitely, Hemant. So on that side, um, let's start the question answer sessions. I think Avnish wanted to ask some question. Before we start that, I think Amit left, but anyway, the discussions are being recorded. Amit, Amit and Sanjay Mohe, Amit Sayan and Sanjay Mohe are the partner, and Sanjay Mohe is the founder of Mindspace. The new IIC, the Indian Institute of Science architect, actually, sir, I don't know whether you know it, Professor Mohan Rao. Uh, Actually, Sanjay Mohe has been the architect of our um, um, the bridge going to
Oh,
Gymkhana, from that to
okay.
all these new buildings.
Footdoor bridge.
So that was a quite a coincidental thing. So yeah, Sanjay Mohe has also done some very interesting work for um, Dr. Reddy's Memorial and Ajim Premji University. So he's considered to be one of the best, apparently. So yeah, so that's so let's because Amit is anyway was there for it was very nice that he was there, so he understood. One of the things he mentioned to me that for some reason they know about us. I don't know how. Maybe I had a long chat long ago. I had a chat with Sanjay Mohe for one of the workshops, but for some reason they have some research. They had some research about us. They said that we are some sensitive scientists and all. So he was yeah. So they do some big projects. So I'm really looking forward. And Sagar also got some news that reference that apparently Mindspace is the best to do the job. So yeah, so they are also based in Bangalore, sir. By the way. Okay, so without further ado, let's ask questions to each other, and then I have a lot of rain happening here. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so let's go ahead. Savnish, you would like to start, or sir, or whoever would like to start question answers, and then maybe we can have a half an hour of question answers and discuss. I think questions are most important. I have a lot of questions to Hemanth, but I am speaking for a while. Me and Sagar, so we will go at the end. Avnish, go ahead.
So one question which one of the presentation I think Mohan sir can help. Am I audible?
You're audible. Sorry, there is a storm and rain, so I'm just checking all my windows are closed or not. So yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry for
Okay,
crossing.
no worries. I have a couple of questions. So one question is that I saw in one of the presentation which Mohan sir was talking about. There's minus F to 3F. I don't know what that means. Is that something like we minus F to 3F? There is a structure in that in the structure section. Just want to understand more about that.
I think it was not audible too well, but correct me if the question, if I'm getting correctly.
No,
You
Siddharth,
are
I think
asking
what
about
he is asking
minus
in
one
the,
F and things like that.
yeah, exactly. In the
Okay, sorry.
structure,
Over to you.
you are shown as 0, -1F, and 1F and 2F and all that. I think it must be the different floors, if I'm right. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh,
discussed
okay.
about this, right? Because in experimental science, there are some sensitive measurements which needs to be vibration free. So generally, we try to do it underground, if possible. And in this case, since it's going to be started from scratch, so Sarah and me and Samit and Moumita, all of us, we are discussing that to have some underground facility. Sir,
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
else you would like to add? Yeah,
Yeah, that's what.
yeah.
Okay. Floor. I got it. It's floor. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Second question, I wanted just wanted to have one quick thing with what Sagar's showed. So we wanted to have a break even at the end of four year and second year operational break even at the end of second year and uh, complete break even at the end of fourth year. So does this break even include the donations as one of the things incoming to our balance sheets?
Uh, yes and no. In the sense, basically, we are trying to make a sustainable organization, Avnish. So the entire idea is that from the regular kind of fees and donations for the kind of economically, you can say, backward students we receive, we should be able to run. But there can be donation in form of pure donation also. So answer is yes for the donation which are for underprivileged. Like for example, somebody wants to sponsor another student. That's absolutely a part of the revenue. But if like I am ready to donate, let's say 10 lakh rupees just to the institute for betterment, then I would kind of keep it away and not take it as a revenue. So that's why I said the answer is yes and no. In spirit, we want to break even with the regular income we are going to generate. I hope that answers
Okay.
your question.
Yeah. Like yeah. So complete like operational, I understand. Complete is like we'll talk about that. T. Got it.
Yeah, complete means actually there will be initial cost, for example, land and construction and all, and everything we cannot kind of make it up in like first 2 years. So that's why that part is 4 years of the complete cost of the school. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
4 years is also ambitious, but T.
Hemant, you'd like to add anything there, in case,
Uh,
because you
no,
have
that,
a lot of experience in school. So what Sagar was saying, if you want to add anything on top of that, uh,
Phil, for a moment, I was, there was something that came up. But
no,
then,
no
can you
problem. Yeah,
again? I
no
mean,
problem.
just say,
So yeah, so I think so I think I have a few questions to
yeah, yeah.
Hemant. Hemant, I was actually wondering, how do you facilitate these international students from Sikkim? or does Sikkim does not consider to be a? I mean, because in our case we are considering Bangladesh to some extent.
Here you see, yes, what has happened is that the governor of Uttarakhand who set up this school was, then after Uttarakhand he went to Sikkim. Therefore, we adopted that, okay, we will, besides taking these girls from Uttarakhand, we will also take two girls every year from Sikkim, and Sikkim government has been, I mean, it was only in the COVID time last year that we sent these girls back safe and sound to Sikkim. So we have, the tie with the Sikkim government where, they would select those girls, those who are needy, and then we take them on board.
no, my question was a little more from the legality side. That when you have international students, visas and all these things, I know that, for example, IITs and IISc they do it. But as from the organizational aspect, do you think that we need to do anything in order to qualify
No,
them?
that is
Siddharth, Sikkim is an Indian
Sikkim
state
is Indian,
only,
no.
so it
It is,
doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not talking
we
about
don't,
Sikkim.
so there's no problem as far as Sikkim is concerned.
Yeah,
As far as there's no visa requirement as
yeah.
such.
But for Bangladesh,
Yes,
definitely the visa requirement is there, right?
yeah.
So how do you envision that part?
You see, this will have to be now explored once the basic conditions that we decide on as far as the admission criteria is concerned and the selection process. You see, what happens is if we involve the government itself at the selection process level, so what will happen once they are involved in the selection? So there'll be a ownership of the thing, and it'll be much easier to deal with that. And the same time, when we the Sikkim government has themselves sponsored those children, and the Indian government will, through the MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs, we will work out an arrangement depending on the exact number of students that are there in the first place, or what is the purpose of their, after all, what is it that we achieve out of it, of this program. Once we submit that those details, I'm sure, and since we are going to do our bit on the open research that we all proclaim, the way it's going to work, I'm sure there's going to be no problem at all. Only thing is that we will take both the governments on board and do a planning of involving them in the process of selection, as well as and the giving them the background as to what is the purpose and why we need to have these students from Bangladesh.
Okay. I have another question. Maybe I will ask, but Sagar, you go ahead if you want to ask anything, or Professor Monroe, since you are on me unmuted yourself, if you have any questions.
No.
Okay, Sagar, anything you have from your end? You're on mute, by the way, Sagar.
No, Siddharth, no.
I had some questions again to Hemant. So I was actually wondering about the other ethical side of it. That see, this is. I mean, we discussed about it a little bit earlier. That ethical side of the scientific research and stuff like that. How do we deal with this? But there's specific questions that for that reason, Sagar, Moumita, they suggested that we should not have children at the beginning to learn a bit and things like that. So me and Mukulika, we both were interested in having children from kindergarten, but then Sagar and Mamita, as well as I think Professor Monra also suggested that. So in longer term, we'll also have very small children. So what sort of legalities we should think about to handle small children, which we are not thinking about at this point of time? Would you like to put some light on that, or you think that's nothing to discuss? Okay.
Yeah, what has happened is that most of the, let
Also,
me share.
also we have to keep in mind everything is residential. Yeah. So that's just
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So most of these schools, residential schools that we're talking of, all over India, they run on a model of starting with class 5. So that means age 11 almost. And therefore, wherever these schools are there below, the kindergarten level, they are mostly day schools. So therefore, it is for a child, to develop, because this is based on this psychological development of the children country. So therefore, to have a hostel at what Sakar has recommended, as far as to not to have these small children right now, is the right decision, because so it's been all tried. We don't need to reinvent the wheel again. So therefore, that discussion is entirely psychological, and I have people, they're from the academics, very very learned, and those who are research, because the way today's deliberations is there, I have some people in mind, and we have an academic council of the school, which consists of retired principals of Doon School, Mr. Mason. We have Mrs. Josna Brar, who was you might have heard of Doon School, I'm sure, and also Welham Girls School. So there are various, and the current principal, which is moving out now, moving on, and we have really brilliant people who can give us inputs. I'm in touch with them once I tell them our program,
Sure.
and whether to have these smaller children is not or not is a totally different ball game. So I don't want to get into that part. As far as legal part is concerned, as to whether there's no such bar, but yes, there's a problem in handling those children, because without parents, because till the age of 11, they are totally dependent on the parents.
Yeah. Specifically here, I'd like to say what Mukulika is interested. This morning also she emphasized that to have orphan children, that's what
Okay.
she's interested, because in that case, that's another where she wants to put everything for free.
We have, yes, we have certain institutions I know, and it's been again handled by the foreigners only. They're running the orphanages only, and they have small children, big children, yes. But then it is run as an orphanage. So therefore, and they also have school as well. So there are, places which are being run. But yes, it all depends. Then it is not the age criteria; it is the age at which a child becomes orphan. So that is the time he or she is taken in.
I have a one last question before we possibly go to everyone. I think this is a question we have discussed, but I think there is we have created some strategies, but I think this is important that how we do the health and safety from because the research center and the school is in the same campus, so the health and safety aspects, so all of you, if you would like to comment on something on that side. And we discussed a few things like give it completely restricted access to the research center. The school children will not be able to get into that center part, because researchers, they do some interesting amount of research which may not be suitable for the children to be starting from high magnetic field to high heavy electric chemicals and things like that. So all are happening in the same campus. We are all experienced how to handle it. I mean, I myself, for example, have handled extreme amount of hydrofluoric acid. So yeah, so I mean, we all are experienced with that. But any particular comment or suggestions you have on that side? Along with that, I think another comment, related comment, is that we are in the wild animal corridor. So what are the safety and precautions we must take? We have discussed all this, but again, if we have missed anything on that side, so Hemant and Professor Mohan and Avnish, you might not have been there, but I mean, let's hear from you that those 2 points, health and safety from the research division, as well as the wild animal being present closely. So I don't know who would like to start.
I
Hemanth,
can
you
add
go
on
ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
the ecological part. Here, you see, it is the since it is a wild animal corridor that you're talking about in that area. So it is the forest department of the state, and they need to, because it's based on their guidelines that are issued from time to time. So we'll have to seek their permission as to we go within those guidelines of building anything in that area, because that will also require, you know, permission from them, because it may be too near or passing through that will certainly have a different ball game altogether, because it's something that we need to follow those conditions. Otherwise, even if we have built something already without their knowledge, once it comes to their knowledge and somebody, either they come to know or somebody complains, then we are in for trouble. So that part is, very, very should be carefully examined, because being part of the corridor, the rules and regulations within that corridor are totally different than what is applicable for the normal areas. So forest department is the uh, you know department we need to deal with and take
Okay.
their prior permission
Yeah.
for ecological reasons.
Yeah. I mean, the land is pretty isolated, but still, the whole area is a wild animal, right? So yeah.
So
So
no, therefore, whatever it is, we need to have a
permission.
uh, permission from them, and
Uh, Maybe I would just shoot the same question to Professor Monra for the research and research division. Sir, I was actually wondering that. Actually, Professor Monra left. Something happened. My question was primarily on the side that Indian Institute of Science Bangalore started uh, recruiting bachelor students who are immediately after class 12. So they are going through how they are doing these things, or for example, IITs to some extent, that how they protect the students from getting into, I mean, restricting them from coming to the dangerous side of the research. I mean, there's heavy voltage and other things happening. So that side is something I was wondering if any of you have any point on that. In this case, we are talking about high schools and things like that. So Avnish and Sagar, any particular points on that? Otherwise, I have no further question. Yeah.
See, I think it cannot be a open for all world, and it cannot be a closed for all world. So it cannot be two extremes for sure. There has to be a right to access to these parts to a limited people. Now, yeah, if it can be systematized that they cannot access, like a access door with a authorized access, so be it, and that can be a biometric access. So there is no question of somebody trying to use somebody's card and enter and all that actually. So I think means in my view it cannot be a open for all access, or it cannot be a closed for all. I mean, it cannot be that everywhere everybody has to take permission, or it cannot be that nobody no anywhere nobody has to take permission. I think both extremes are not going to work.
I think I have no further questions. Sagar, would you like to end it, or anything else you would like to discuss? We haven't discussed.
No, I think it has been a very, very, very engaging discussion. And obviously, I think Amit just messaged me before leaving. He had some urgent US client tomorrow morning. So, I mean, he's left. But Heman, thank you so much. I think you are giving us so much time, and it's quite valuable for us. Avnish, thanks again. I think the document has come out well, and I'm sure with today's meeting, I think it will become a little more sharper if there are any kind of edges to be sharpened. And yeah, I think that's it from my side.
Okay. Thank you very much. Then have a nice rest of the evening. Actually, good night to all of you. Thank you very much. Let's talk about this 15 June grant and other things, Hemant,
Okay.
very soon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.